Thank you for having me. It's a great honor to be here in Guatemala Parliament. Now, I changed my speech last minute because of the... You hear me? The events in Europe, that means after 75 years of relative peace, we have war again in Ukraine. Now, next slide, please. We democracies are faced with a serious problem. Democracies and their institutions are on free fall. Well, closer, okay. Are on free fall. You know, this is the result of 6 research reports from very renowned institutions over the last 12 months. There's no doubt democracy is in free fall. The only question that is open, what is the effect of the hybrid warfare against democracy, what we just heard before, from autocrats like Putin or Xi or whoever? The result will be clear unless we wake up. Now the question is, what are we fighting for? Please, next slide. It is very clear. We are fighting for democracy, we are fighting for individual rights, and we are fighting for the rule of law. And please, next slide. Now you see what's happening at the moment. And the title of this year's Munich Security Conference was Unlearning Helplessness. I think it says it all. It's strange, the title, but it says it all. We have to learn again how to fight these people. And because in a world of autocrats, you know, they understand that domestic repression is not enough. They have to defend for outside, you know. They go, these external killings we have seen. We have this hybrid warfare undermining our governments, interfere in elections. This is just the beginning. So the problem for us is we are restrained because in a nuclear-armed world, the use of military means is, for the democracies is very limited, what we see in the Ukraine. Next, please. Now, will the sanction, and they are the toughest ever, work against Russia? There are some doubts, because, you know, we have seen the sanction after the invasion of Crimea. There were, you know, no real effect. The real effect on Putin, why he waited so long, was lower oil prices, lower energy prices. He's financing his military adventures by, you know, his income from oil and gas, and this hasn't been stopped. I have been here pleading for a long time. You're coming from Germany, I said we have to close Nord Stream 1, and we shouldn't build Nord Stream 2 because the dependence. You know, we have seen it coming, and I'm doing this for 20 years, and now we get the result. Now, I think we all agree that the carnage in Ukraine has to stop. But I also think we have a chance in a lifetime to re-establish a rule-based order. And, you know, it should be easy. It sounds easy. I know, you know, the political process is very difficult always. But here is my suggestion. I think the transparency of ownership of assets and the source of the wealth has to be transparent. That should be a worldwide rule. Second, you know, in the past, criminals have always been successful by bypassing these obligations. You know, we have this transparency register in the EU anti-money laundering directive, but they do not work in the countries. There are always ways to get around. To enforce the law, and this is for me very important, the burden of proof has to be reversed in respect to beneficial ownership. Because when we, in cases where the asset, the beneficial owner of the asset cannot be positively identified, they can be frozen by the democracy in a shock and awe operation. We got to do it, not wait, talk all the time. We got to do it. So the unknown beneficial owners, as we are under the rule of law, they can claim the frozen asset in court by proving their ownership of the assets and the legal origin of the assets. Next slide, please. Because this would really cut off the dictators, the criminals, organized crime, kleptocrats, all these problems that are very heterogeneous. We have one common denominator. You cut off the assets, the access to the assets, and Alexei Navalny said, you want to influence Putin, then influence his personal wealth. I mean, you've got to be very clear, Putin is after money, after power, and if you go after his money, he will not like it. I mean, we had seen, and it was spectacular, that 140 nations voted for the resolution in the UN against Russia. All these countries will happily sign the new world order. Make assets transparent, so we no longer don't know where the assets are, who is the beneficial owner. I think it's the time to do it. Next slide, please. Here, I'm here in this very very lovely country, but according to the State Department, to the Senate, to global financial integrity, Guatemala is a transit country for narcotics. It has uncontrolled corruption, AML, CFT deficiencies, and according to the latest report from the State Department from last week, it has a problem with the rule of law. Now, next slide, please. Now, bad boys Guatemala, but welcome to the club. The United States is the largest money laundering country in the world and provides all these structures to hide money. Second, the latest Chatham House report from December says that UK is the world capital of money laundering. And we need a complete reset of the anti-money laundering operation in UK. The EU has confirmed, the European Court of Auditors, that Europe has serious problems with the AML CFT regime. Now I can add to this a little bit. I filed my first complaint with the European Commission in 2004. Since then, I have filed 5 complaints against Germany for not complying with the anti-money laundering directive. 2 of these complaints turned into infringement cases. The result was 0. All of the 27 member states of the European Union do not comply with the EU anti-money laundering directive and therefore with the 40 recommendation of the Financial Action Task Force. Now, I'm close to David Lewis, who just left the Financial Action Task Force. And he said it, none is doing well after 30 years of existence of the Financial Action Task Force. And we have seen it before, United States, UK, Europe, Germany, they all got positive ratings from the Financial Action Task Force. Something is all awfully wrong here. You cannot say that, it's the largest money laundering country in the world. At the same time, it gets a positive reading from the Financial Action Task Force. So next slide, please. So this is why I would say and can support it, that the Financial Action Task Force, like other international organizations, has turned into a burden. Just a second, please. Okay, now the Financial Action Task Force was founded in 1989 by the G7. We have seen that when you measure something, you say, is it better or worse than 30 years ago? With an estimated $4.2 trillion laundered every year, I think this is not a success story. Like, when I was in Washington in December on the flight back, I missed my connecting flight because I was sitting to make a little research because I got the Freedom House report. And, I found out that from the 37 member states of the Financial Action Task Force, 9 are not free or partially free. That means they are not interested in fighting money laundering, only in their own interest. The same is true with the FIUs worldwide. From the Egmont Group's 160 plus FIUs, less than half are free. So, it shows that our organizations are undermined, and we have to change, as I said before, change also the international organizations, the international order. We've seen this also, in other organizations, like maybe you have seen recently, the World Bank was named as financing genocide in China. This is a report from Atlantic Council. Well, if our organization financing this, why isn't it the Chinese banks are financing these companies in Xinjiang where Uyghurs have to work as slave worker? Now, next slide, please. Okay, now you see it's still time to react. This is from the Central Bank of the European Central Bank. It shows that US dollar and euros are dominant, that in all areas, in financing, in foreign exchange, in everything, they're still dominant with a trend on the downside. We were talking before that China helps Russia to avoid the financial sanction. Yeah, this is true, but they cannot avoid this. As long as they all have to use dollar or euros, this is the Achilles heel from these autocrats. Now, next slide, please. This is from the IMF, the gross debt position to GDP. And you see, this shows that time is running out. When this shows, dark red shows the country that has an indebtedness of over 100%. And normally you would assume these countries are in Africa or in Asia. No, it's our democracies that are indebted over 100%. And this you can do as long as you control your currency. I mean, Argentina has shown once you have to lend in foreign currencies, you are dependent from those countries. So let's move, use the instruments, the tools we have to fight back and just establish or re-establish the world order that was established in 1945 and signed by Eleanor Roosevelt in San Francisco. That's the UN Charter. Thank you.